Hello and welcome to House News. In this episode, we will present to you the latest information coming from the House of Representatives of the Republic of Indonesia. And before we get started, let's see the headlines for today. The visit of the Russian Parliament to Commission 1 of the House underscores the ongoing efforts to strengthen the bilateral relationship between Indonesia and Russia. Commission 1 held initial meeting with the Minister of Foreign Affairs to discuss ministry's 100-day work plan. The defense industry is a strategic sector for the government. It plays a role in maintaining national security and sovereignty, ensuring the nation's stability and protection. Over 200 million people were registered for the recent regional election. However, voter turnout has been below 70%, and it is a decline from the last presidential election. Fried shallots, widely known in Indonesia as bawang goreng, ranks as the best condiments from around the world. Commission 1 of the House recently met with the Chair of Defense and Security Committee of the Russian Parliament. The meeting focused on defense equipment collaboration and education scholarships for Indonesian students.
Chairperson of Commission 1 of the House Utut Adianto highlighted the strong ties between Indonesia and Russia, particularly in infrastructure and energy sectors. As one of the pioneers in nuclear energy utilization, Russia offers an opportunity for Indonesia to engage in knowledge transfer through educational scholarship. Additionally, Utut emphasized exploring collaboration with other BRICS nations.
Tujuan mereka adalah untuk meningkatkan hubungan baik dan saling pengertian. Tadi juga dibilang bahwa Rosatov itu salah satu pabrik BUMN mereka yang bergerak di bidang atom, khususnya tenaga listrik nuklir, memberikan beasiswa bagi 20 siswa Indonesia. Singkat kata, ini tentu dalam pertemuan ini kita tidak mengikat apapun, tetapi ini membuka lembaran baru. Dan Presiden Prabowo Subianto sudah menyatakan niatnya melalui Saudara Menteri Luar Negeri Sugiono di Kasan, intensi kita untuk masuk BRICS.
Furthermore, Utut explained the meeting also focused on plans of defense equipment procurement for the 2025 to 2030. He underlined the importance of increasing trust and ensuring technology transfer in defense cooperation will benefit military personnel of both nations. Samuel and Julian, TV Parliament report.
Commission 1 supports the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to improve public welfare through strategic international initiatives. It also supports the commitment to increasing sustainable and inclusive development in the Indo-Pacific region.
Under President Prabowo's leadership, Indonesia is expected to strengthen collaboration within ASEAN. This commitment is reflected in the ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific, emphasizing cooperation, inclusivity, and stability across the region. Member of Commission 1 of the House, Syamsu Rizal, explained the new government needs to elevate Indonesia's position in ASEAN and global stage. He hoped the government will continue to promote Indonesia's inclusion in multilateral forums and promote coordination between regional and international organizations.
Momen ini, momen kepercayaan dunia yang sangat positif kepada Presiden Prabowo dan Indonesia, itu harus betul-betul dimanfaatkan dengan konsep diplomasi yang seger lah, yang unik, yang baru, yang aktual, terutama sekali karena Indonesia ini memiliki saat ini impression yang sangat positif di dunia. Dengan Prabowo, dengan performance personalnya Prabowo, dan performance Indonesia yang sangat bagus sekarang ini, momentum ini nggak boleh lewat. Jadi Indonesia mesti membuat position yang benar-benar sesuai dengan harapan masyarakat dunia, yang butuh negara kuat, yang potensial, yang berada di tengah-tengah, menjadi jembatan, menjadi katalisator, dan itu harus diperankan oleh Indonesia.
In the current challenging global situation, the ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific aims to create a conducive environment for peace, stability, and prosperity through mutually beneficial cooperation. It is hoped all countries will respect and support ASEAN to ensure transparent and inclusive collaboration. Andri and Koko, TVR Parliament, report.
Commission 1 of the House highlights to establish a strong, professional, and independent domestic defense industry. Therefore, there must be commitment and cooperation between all government and all stakeholders.
Vice Chairperson of Commission 1 of the House, Dev Laksono, stated serious commitment from the government is needed in designing policies that support the domestic industry. As a partner of the government, Commission 1 will continue to oversee all programs in achieving defense industry independence. This includes supporting PT Dirgantara Indonesia in expanding its production both domestically and internationally.
Kita mendengar, melihat, dan juga kita mempelajari apa yang jadi kendala untuk mereka bisa memperbaiki ke depannya, dan kita harapkan mitra-mitra kita khususnya di sini Kemhan dan Mabes TNI bisa terus membuat kebijakan-kebijakan yang bisa menyokong industri dalam negeri kita.
Meanwhile, member of Commission 1 of the House, Syamsu Rizal, emphasized the need of comprehensive support from the government and stakeholders for PTDI. This support will help PT DI increase its competitiveness and grow in international markets.
Kita memiliki kemampuan yang luar biasa untuk memproduksinya, termasuk yang disampaikan oleh Pak Dirut tadi itu untuk N219, tetapi kita butuh support baik dalam konteks politik maupun juga dalam pemangku kepentingan yang lain itu untuk mensupport DI ini bisa menjual ke beberapa negara, termasuk ke beberapa perusahaan-perusahaan aviasi dan juga ke aerostructure karena hampir semua bisa diproduksi di sini.
From West Java, Syamsu Fajri, TVR Parliament, reports.
After the break, we will bring you the latest from Commission 10 of the House. Stay tuned to House News. Following the simultaneous regional elections on November 27, 2024, voter participation has declined. In response to this, the House plans to evaluate and review the factors contributing to the drop in voter turnout during the 2024 regional elections.
The General Election Commission, or KPU, reported voter participation in the 2024 simultaneous elections did not reach 70% based on the national average. In Jakarta, the voter turnout was only 57%, the lowest in history. Vice Speaker for Politics and Security, Sufmi Dasko Ahmad mentioned an evaluation will be conducted on voter participation in several regions, especially in Jakarta. The decline in voter turnout was due to factors such as weather condition and heavy rainfall.
Kami lagi evaluasi tentang partisipasi pemilih ya, terutama di Jakarta yang mengalami penurunan. Di beberapa daerah sih memang karena cuaca, terutama ada terjadi hujan lebat dan lain-lain sehingga partisipasi pemilih turun. Seperti di Batam kami monitor, Kepri misalnya gitu, itu hujan lebat sekali. Tapi kalau di DKI kami sedang evaluasi dan sedang dikaji. Mungkin akan bisa dibuktikan apabila kemudian ada pelaporan ke Bawaslu, ke Gakumdu, nanti kita akan lihat bagaimana prosesnya.
Additionally, Sufmi Dasko highlighted reports of alleged violations in the 2024 regional election will be handled by the relevant authorities. The Election Supervisory Body or Bawaslu and the Law Enforcement Committee or Gakumdu will process the cases and ensure transparency in communicating the result to the public. Zikri and Denus, TVR Parliament, report.
Bullying cases in educational institutions remain widespread. Recently, a student in Subang tragically passed away due to bullying by a senior. Commission 10 of the House urges a collaboration between teachers and parents to address bullying in schools.
Member of Commission 10 of the House, Lydia Hanifa, suggested every school implementing parenting training programs because not all parents have sufficient knowledge to address bullying among children. She emphasized, in addition to the influence of internet content, bullying often originates from the environment or people around the children. She demanded the role of school counselors in preventing bullying in schools.
Kita kan kemudian tanya telusur sebabnya apa, ternyata sebabnya adalah dari internet. Nah ini juga jadi bagian yang sangat penting. Nampaknya tidak ada program tentang pengasuhan yang harusnya dimunculkan. Jadi tadi beberapa yang diusulkan oleh kami, satu komite sekolah itu membuat program pengasuhan, pelatihan untuk orang tua terkait dengan pengasuhan. Karena kan nggak ada sekolahnya jadi orang tua. Maka perlu ada ilmu-ilmu yang selalu berkembang ya berkaitan dengan itu. Kedua, memang harus disiapkan juga di sekolah guru bimbingan konseling. Ini permintaan saya sudah dari periode lalu kepada Menteri, minta supaya agak ada perubahan tata kelola pelayanan pendidikan di tingkat sekolah dasar. Kalau di tingkat sekolah dasar ada guru bimbingan konseling, setidaknya antisipasi itu bisa menjadi jalan lebih baik.
Moreover, Lydia Hanifa reminded bullying victims should receive special protection. However, she emphasized bullying cases should not be only handled by law enforcement. Schools and parents should prioritize mediation to resolve these issues. From Riau, Trihandoko, TVR Parliament reports.
Commission 3 of the House acknowledged the National Police in securing the 2024 simultaneous regional elections up to voting day. Their success is expected to continue until the General Elections Commission announces the official winner.
Chairperson of Commission 3 of the House, Habibur Rahman, praised the National Police for their optimum efforts in securing elections across various regions. On November 27, 2024, Polri ensured security across the entire electoral process. This included supporting logistic distribution, safeguarding polling stations, and maintaining public order during voting. Despite this success, Habibur Rahman urged the police to remain open to public feedback regarding election security.
Peran maksimal Polri tersebut mulai dari persiapan, artinya membantu distribusi logistik, ya, penyiapan TPS, ya, kemudian juga pelaksanaan pencoblosan, ya, menjaga ketertiban terkait pencoblosan sampai dengan selesainya penghitungan cepat di masing-masing daerah, ya, atau yang namanya disebut real count. Sebenarnya bukan real count itu ya, tetapi penghitungan dengan aplikasi.
Moreover, Habibur Rahman highlighted the need to anticipate potential vulnerabilities in specific areas, especially during the vote recapitulation process, with attention to regions such as Puncak Jaya, Central Papua, Papua Highlands, Jeneponto, and Aceh. Samuel Anbari, TVR Parliament report.
When we return, we will have more interesting information from culinary. Stay tuned to House News. Indonesia has rich variety of spices that created delicious and unique dishes. Recently, fried shallots, a popular Indonesian condiment, earned a spot in the list of the best condiments in the world.
Taken from CNN, fried shallots are simple yet flavorful addition to many dishes in Indonesia. Taste Atlas ranked fried shallots second on their list of top 53 condiments in the world with an impressive score of 4.6. This recognition brings more attention to Indonesian food at its tasty flavors. To make fried shallots, thin slices of shallots are deep fried in oil until they are crispy and golden. The result is a savory, salty, and slightly bitter flavor that adds a crunchy texture to dishes. This unique combination makes fried shallots a favorite for many. Before frying, the shallots are sometimes soaked in salt water. This helps prevent them from turning dark and losing their crispness. After being fried, the shallots are usually stored in airtight containers to keep them fresh and crunchy for longer periods. In Indonesia, fried shallots are often added to fried rice, meatballs, satay, stews, and soups. Some people even enjoy them with just a bowl of rice and little soy sauce. They are loved for how they enhance the flavors of different dishes. This recognition of fried shallots as one of the best condiments in the world shows how Indonesia food is gaining international fame. It proves that simple dishes like fried shallot can have a big impact and highlight the deliciousness of Indonesian cuisine.
Starbucks has opened a new location at Eco Park in Gimpo, South Korea, offering customers a unique view of North Korea. However, to access this site, visitors must pass a military checkpoint as it is situated near the demilitarized zone.
Quoted from Trade Times, a 40-seater Starbucks cafe opened at South Korea Aegibong Peace Eco Park in Gimpo City, which is along the divide between the two Koreas and just a river apart from the north. The cafe's location allows visitors to have a view of a small village in North Korea's Gaepung country, just 1.4 kilometers away. Telescope on the observatory terrace outside the cafe, with over 100 times zoom capabilities, allow for an even closer peek. Visitors who wish to enter the Eco Park, where the Starbucks cafe is located, are required to show their identification and register at the guard post at the entrance of the park, a civilian control area. On the day the cafe opened, North Korea sent yet another batch of 40 balloons to the south, which landed in capital city Seoul and the surrounding Gyeonggi province. The cafe opening comes during a time of tension between the two sides. In January, North Korea leader Kim Jong-un said his country would no longer seek reconciliation and reunification with South Korea. In October, Kim further threatened to use nuclear weapons to destroy South Korea if attacked, after South Korea's president warned that if the North used nuclear weapons, it would face the end of its regime.
In Indonesia, many old buildings are now trendy cafes and hangout places. These creative efforts, supported by Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy, also helps preserve Indonesia's historical heritage.
From colonial-style houses to old warehouse, these cafes have become favorite destination for locals and tourists. Not only serving great coffee, but they also let visitors enjoy the beauty of Indonesia past in a fresh and modern way. Located in Pasar Baru, Central Jakarta, this former post office, now known as the Jakarta Philately Building, was revitalized in 2021. Post Block Jakarta still showcases its classic Art Deco style with a semicircular roof and old stained glass windows designed by Dutch architect Van Hoytema. Inside, the space combines with walls and dark marble floors, creating a unique blend of old and new. Visitors can enjoy creative spaces, cafes, antique shop, and even spot a historic Dutch mailbox called a Brievenbus. Built in 1730, Toko Merah is one of the oldest buildings in Jakarta. Located in the Old Town area, it has been transformed into a cafe called Rotwinkel while maintaining its red facade and Dutch colonial charm. The cozy interior features vintage furniture, perfect for those who want to relax and enjoy a Dutch-era atmosphere. Situated at Kilometer Zero in Yogyakarta, this cafe occupies a historic building near the Sono Budoyo Museum. The cafe designed to resemble the Yogyakarta Palace. Visitors can sip coffee or tea while surrounded by a nostalgic vintage ambience. With its classic design and peaceful setting, it is a favorite spot for those exploring the city's cultural heart.
And that's House News for today. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.